Brooklyn, and it was like one of the top restaurants out there.
Political.
And
It's
Yeah.
political.
I mean, we had our problems, you know, but some of what you're saying I can agree with, and
There's no really a magic solution to everything. And New York City government is very selective, like you're saying. Listen, my uncle is a captain, NYPD captain. If they want to drive you out of business, you'll be out of business in 2 months.
that is true.
If you're friends with cops,
That's
you're going
right.
to then eat and whatever, hang out after work,
right.
you're going to skate for 10, 15 years, without a problem. It depends who how we want to do business.
Right.
If their longevity is in your mind, or you just want to make quick buck.
There's bars in Brooklyn that actually let you carry the drink out. This is the only one. You go to the park, and I'm like, how did this happen? He's like, yeah, the police.
Better yet,
it's-
I have a client that's been operating without liquor license for 5 years. He's got he's doing tremendous business with liquor. With liquor, having cops at the door. A cop stop by and drink there, for example, and it just happens.
I don't know. Okay.
So I don't want to be here all night, but I just wanted to say thank you for that input.
Thank you, anytime.
But I did want to say to you guys that I'm just proposing that, my proposal is that we look into piloting, I don't want to call it a process. It is kind of a
Economic
process.
development initiatives.
An economic development initiative that would encompass asking more questions of what are the needs of the businesses, along with what what we ask them for the SLA application, and then handing that off to a city agency who then would follow up. But then we need to kind of do our follow-up as well.
Monitor.
See what happens with that business, where they helped, was it any good, like.
I think they call it follow through.
Yeah, we just want to follow up and see, was it effective? Did it help the business? Did they get the help that they needed? And
It's a great idea.
It's good, very good.
so I think trial it.
When I was reading this, I'm thinking of Harlem Business Alliance and all of the
Yeah.
things that you have on here, like these services, are you in need of the following? I mean, we do have an agency in Harlem that does address, and I don't know.
That's the
So
whole
it's the
reason for
connection,
being.
getting the businesses to those
Yeah, the
services.
Yeah,
services
that's
and the
where the-
That's where
businesses.
the,
Yeah.
Because people don't know
It's
about
different.
People
HBA.
don't know.
They
That's
don't
what
know
she's
about
saying.
HBA.
But the two lawyers said that they're already members of HBA.
yes, through the
But
Harlem.
But that doesn't mean they necessarily.
Yeah, they may be atypical.
They are,
Yeah.
So how
but
do
they're
you get-
also well
yeah.
educated and they're already.
And HBA doesn't cover every angle.
No, it
No.
doesn't.
No, it
But I mean,
doesn't.
a
A
lot
lot
of
of
it-
social
but a
media
lot of
But they
it-
are
marketing,
access.
Right, like
But
that.
I'm just saying, a lot of this, people will be able to
Yeah.
get information if they went there.
Yeah.
They don't know to go there.
Right.
Certainly it'd be a way to perform our advocacy role by connecting the consumer to the service.
Yeah.
That's something that we can
Yeah, I came for a specific reason.
do. Okay.
No, it's good that, the Economic Development Committee is starting to, take, other measures to, bolster up our economic, situation in Harlem, besides, just approving liquor licenses. So that's kind of like one comment that I wanted to make. But I think everybody would agree that, the use of the internet is important to business. But some people can't afford, the internet. So they go to these free spots or Wi-Fi areas. And one of the spots is Starbucks. And now Starbucks is having a particular problem where they're shutting down the electricity, the outlets, because people come there, they sit for long hours, and when the management, addresses these people, like some of them have gotten hostile. So it's affecting other people that really rely on going there maybe to get that free spot.
Well, Astro Cafe, free Wi-Fi, local business.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
now,
where they need to go.
I know, but since Starbucks has been the one on 7th and 125th, I can speak for them, they've been like a good neighborhood business for other neighborhood events, I know firsthand, and I thought that the actual meeting was gonna be like next week or something, so I told Nas I was gonna get him the schedule, and he was gonna come next week, but I said, let me just check to see if they got the thing
Next
going
week
on.
is, land use.
Right, so, you know, I'll kind of like, speak on his behalf a little bit. You know, if there's something that we can come up with, some type of innovative idea, it's a shame that, you know, they're taking this drastic type of measure to shut down, you know, the electrical outlets, because they, you know, they should be encouraging people coming in. I know when you see a business that's filled with people, you say, oh, let me go inside. If you see it kind of empty, you go like, what's wrong with it?
That's a Starbucks issue.
Yeah.
I
How are
know,
you answering-
but-
what are you
This
asking?
is an issue that Starbucks and other restaurants
No.
deal with all around the world.
I know.
I don't think
But
it's
what I'm
something-
saying to you is
Yeah.
that
You want
What
the
is it you're
traffic,
asking
but
us, sir?
you want it.
this is the Economic Development
Right,
Committee,
Right.
and so when people have certain problems that's affecting, you know, the business or how we patronize the business, you know, that I told him, I said, you know, just come maybe and express it, and, you know, maybe some type of solution can, you know, pop up. But don't stay away from the, you know, what I'm trying to do is encourage people to come to the Economic Development Committee on all different ways, different angles. You know, there's so many different ways, you know, that we need economic, you know, enhancement. You know, because the unemployment rate for black men in Harlem is like 70% between the ages of 18 and 54. You heard what I said? 70%, if not more. So, you know, that's one economic area that we shouldn't just like put to the side. We're just saying it's good, you know, and I applaud you for, you know, this initiative. It's unique, you know, and that's good to see ideas, you know, spur up. But we got to come up with, you know, I don't want people to just be bashing the Economic Development Committee, saying that all they're doing is approving liquor licenses, you know. And so if it gives the appearance that that's all
Yeah, that means they simply, was it the old saying, those who say don't know and those who know don't say.
right. So,
This
You just made that up, right?
but it's just a
This also speaks to the Harlem free Wi-Fi issue
Exactly, I was
too,
gonna bring that up, yeah.
because it's something that is supposed to be strong and present, and it's not.
And it's
It's
not.
supposed to be out there.
Because they
Whatever
ran-
happened to
Yeah,
Highway
it's-
they ran out of
125?
money.
And that was
is that what it?
The company
Yeah,
ran out of
Because
money.
I'm like saying, you
Before it
know,
was every-
the empowerment,
It's not
but that
working.
was an empowerment zone initiative originally.
Mm.
The empowerment zone was supposed to do this.
So when someone said that, no,
was
Joyce,
one
it's
of their
not working.
initiatives.
And then that's
it's
why
not
they-
working. Now it never got started. The company
Yeah.
went out of
Yeah.
business before.
So
It
there
was
were
called-
some
It
areas-
was called Highway 125, I
Wow.
remember.
I thought that some
Years
areas
ago.
were
No,
starting to.
no,
Okay.
No, they went out of business. It was a big.
Wow. So all that
But-
Bloomberg
but-
talk about the
no,
big
but-
Wi-Fi in America.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I do know that they were planning on using the old telephone booths.
Mhm.
Since the wire, the connection is there,
Yeah.
as a way
That makes
to
sense.
accomplish that goal. And I do know that some months ago, they surveyed the community board for the best locations
Right.
in the board to
Yeah, I
install
remember.
this. Now, I have not checked to see if it's actually up and running, but that's something I can do. So they did actually make affirmative movements to do it in a different fashion using pre-existing equipment.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's the same configuration that was
You know,
actually
I'm
planned.
mainly speaking on behalf of our young entrepreneurs who may not, you know, they're having a harder time starting up because, you know, they're young.
And that was also the new version is citywide, not just Harlem. Because I know it is going to be Central Harlem. Now
But
it's
they
using
were-
the
but
phone
they
booths
were-
all over.
Yeah, but they were focusing on urban areas because, you
Right.
know, it was
Exactly.
kind of like.
The
you
digital
know,
divide.
Yeah, exactly.
What about libraries, public libraries?
Oh,
Don't
that's the
have
homeless.
They have it,
The
I
homeless
believe.
have taken over the
Wi-Fi. I mean,
libraries.
There are lots of places to use Wi-Fi in the community.
Yeah, I think it's just the idea of having, easily accessible Wi-Fi. You have devices. These devices are inexpensive now and have a lot more capability, and you could, do some of the things. Whereas before, you'd have to have a laptop to circle that.
But, all I'm saying is that,
What is
the community
what is
board,
the,
should be working more closely with the community.
135?
So these little problems that pop up, that, they should be discussed in a certain forum. Now, one solution that I had, is that, okay, they were told to try not to confront people, even if they come in there and steal. Because, you heard recently about this McDonald's restaurant situation.
No.
A manager,
Was stealing.
no, a manager was like confronting a
Someone
customer.
very
Got hurt?
Yeah, and he stabbed him up and killed him. So after that, they're like,
Where was this?
that could have been like in, I think, was it in Queens or Brooklyn?
Oh, okay, so it wasn't an arm.
No.
I was saying I didn't hear you.
So, I know I saw this woman, she was stealing something, and I looked at her, and so she was hesitant, because she didn't know who I was really, but she went like, so what do you, and I said, just since it was water, I said, go. But I could have confronted her, and, people that do utilize Starbucks, that have a need for it, for the services, that I just think there needs to be more camaraderie between everybody, that we have to now start coming together and just saying, this is what we're not going to stand for, this is what we'll stand for. But sometimes, I don't want to be the person that, that tries to come up with all the solutions, but I believe I do have an ability to bring people together, to discuss things, and then solutions can come out of that. So it might seem like, trivial or insignificant, but
No, it's not.
I just said, Nas, maybe you should,
No, it's not.
he's the general manager of that location.
Okay.
So, but he said he had hot
Not the
coffee.
rapper.
Huh?
Not the rapper.
That's
He had hot coffee thrown at him.
Name
and-
dropping Nas.
Yeah, a couple of times I was like, wow, you know some big industry types.
But,
Yeah.
some of the people that you least expect to step up to the plate, I know firsthand, I don't know if I mentioned one time that a friend of mine got into a situation, with blood. And so when I saw that the heat was coming on, I couldn't go to where I was going. So I had to stick around, and there were other bloods in the neighborhood. And so when I went beyond, what is really expected, I guess people would think that the Bloods would have turned against me, like, mind your effing business. But some of them actually, they helped me. So we were able to really squash it before it got too serious.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna call this an evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm just saying, I just want to know, maybe we can start